Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our January 2023 edition of SigTalks. I'm Jim Cooper, Vice President of the New York City Alumni Chapter and graduate of Penn State University, where I was an active SIG at the Alpha Chi Chapter. I'm joined tonight by James Hefner, who's also a member of the New York City Alumni Chapter. James is also the Dean of the Praetorial College, Grand Praetor for the Hudson Valley Province, and a board member for the Sigma Chi Leadership Institute. Our SIG Talk this evening is about one of Sigma Chi's premier leadership development programs, the Horizon Huntsman Leadership Summit. I'm going to call it Horizons for short from now on. To put it in one brief statement, Horizons is an incredible opportunity for our undergraduate Sigma Chi's to acquire life-changing leadership skills and experiences. James Hester and I will be interviewing 4 of the best available representatives of the Horizons program, and I'm certain that when we are done, you will agree that what I have just said in my statement about the value of Horizons for our undergraduates will be something that you'll fully agree with. So let me proceed with an introduction of our Horizons SIG Talk panel. I'm going to start with Dick Hester. Dick is a graduate of Ball State University, where he became a SIG at the Epsilon Omega chapter. For those who don't know, Dick is a former Grand Consul of Sigma Chi International. He's been inducted into the Order of Constantine, and he's currently the chair of the Horizons Oversight Committee. In addition to Dick, we have 3 additional panel members. 2 of them are undergraduates, and the third is a recent graduate, and all 3 of them have attended the Horizons program. First, we have Ryan Jeffries, senior at Oklahoma State University, where he was inducted as a SIG in the Gamma Delta chapter. He also serves as an undergraduate representative for the Sigma Chi Leadership Institute. Then we have Peter Halsey. Peter is a senior at Gettysburg College. He became a SIG there at the Theta chapter. In addition to participating in Horizons, he has also served as a management intern for the program. And finally, we have Michael Nickerson. Michael is a 2022 graduate of St. Louis University, and he became a SIG there at the Theta Iota chapter. Michael also attended Horizons, and he's begun his career. He's currently employed as a clinical specialist with Medtronic Corporation, the world's largest medical device company. So as you can see, we have a very distinguished panel to discuss our topic for this SIG Talk. Before we begin, we have another brief video to show you about Horizons. So, Brother Hester, I'm going to ask you to kick it off with some descriptors of the program. First of all, who's eligible to participate in Horizons?
Well, thanks, Brother Coop. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to answer your question for sure, but I just feel like I want to start by saying, first of all, I did wear a blue and gold shirt today, so I wanted to be sure that you guys could distinguish me from Mike and Ryan and Peter, the other presenters. I do want to thank not only you, Coop, and you, Hef, but all the alumni who gave up time tonight to participate in this talk, not only for your support of Horizons, but truly for your support of our undergraduates, particularly the Grand Praetors and advisors on the call, because you do it all the time. And I know there's undergraduates on the call, and I just want to thank you for taking time out on Thursday night, too. You're the ones that are protecting safeguarding our charters and promoting our images on your campuses, and we couldn't do what we do without you guys. So thanks. You know, any undergraduate in our fraternity who has a year left of school is eligible to apply for Horizons. So if you come this summer, if you got it next year, if you're going to be in school the entire year, you're eligible to apply for the program.
Okay. And where and when does Horizons take place?
We have 5 sessions this summer between June and August, and we're in the mountains of Utah. We're actually at the lodge at Snowbird. Now, if any of you have ever been to Utah and you've seen Snowbird, it's a beautiful setting. And I do remember one year I had an undergraduate call me and say, "Hey, Brother Hester, I got into Horizons. You know, what do I need to bring? Do I need a sleeping bag or what do I need to bring?" And I'm going, it's a 5-star resort. It's basically where the United States Olympic Committee stayed when the Olympics were in Salt Lake City. And although your mom's probably a good cook, we have damn good food. So it really is a phenomenal resort, but it's a phenomenal setting in the mountains. And we utilize the mountains throughout the program.
Well, it sounds like a great place to spend some time. What's the duration of the program?
It's a week long. Undergraduates are selected, fly in on a Sunday. And then we basically do not a lot during the day, Sunday night. We have a few activities, but we give people some time to acclimate to the time change and to the altitude change. We go throughout the entire next week. There's a commencement exercise on the following Saturday night, and everybody departs on the following Sunday. So it's a week.
Okay. And how many Sigma Chi brothers participate in each session?
We have 48 undergraduates in each of the 5 sessions. And then we have approximately 10 alumni who will be there for each of the sessions.
Okay. And, I know there's an awful lot of content to Horizons, but what would you highlight, Dick, as a couple of the key activities that take place during the week?
Okay, Coop, like we said, it's a week long, so it's hard to kind of narrow it down.
Yeah.
And I'll let my undergraduate brothers who are not in the blue and gold shirts give you more details. But from my perspective, what I've seen over the years is undergraduate brothers learn so much about themselves and their capabilities, things that they're not even sure they were capable of, as well as how to really form teams with people that are like you and people that are different than you. So together we can make an impact and make that impact at your chapter, at your university, and eventually after you graduate throughout the world.
Okay. Well, that's a really good summary to get us started, Brother Hester. We'll return to Dick for some additional commentary later in the talk. But now is the time we'd like to hear from our panel of undergraduates and recent graduate who have participated and experienced Horizons. So Ryan, Peter, and Mike, these questions are for all of you. And I'm going to start it off by turning it over to my colleague, James Hefner, to begin the questioning of the panel.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jim. And thank you, brothers, for joining us. I know that taking some time out of your Thursday evening as undergraduates and recent alums is a big ask. So we very much appreciate you doing so. One of the big things about Horizons really speaks to the lessons of teamwork. You are brought together with undergraduates from all across the United States. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what that experience was like and what did you specifically learn about teamwork throughout the Horizons program? And we'll start with Ryan and then Peter and Mike.
Absolutely, Hef. I would say, teamwork, the number one thing I learned as far as working in groups like we do in chapters back at home, and like you will do on the mountain in Horizons, is that you got to learn how to lead yourself first before you lead others. And that's something that most people don't come to the mountain with. Some do, and that's a skill that they hone in on and they improve on. But I think learning how to lead yourself and, where your weak points are, where you can start to rely on your team members and where you're really good and where they can rely on you is a key factor that I learned about, personally, teamwork in groups during my time on the mountain.
Excellent. Peter?
Yeah, just building off of that, I think one of the most important teamwork takeaways from my week there and from going back there as an intern has just been the trust and communication that you build with your group throughout the week. The structure of it really makes that quite easy throughout the week. You spend a lot of time with the brothers in your small group, and you learn to trust and communicate with those guys really well. But it's also about communicating with the large group at hand, because you will be mixed up for certain missions, and it's all about kind of getting you uncomfortable, and working on those trust and communication skills.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, one of the big lessons that I kind of took away was kind of the application of a term that's used in Horizons called social styles, kind of learning about how to see how different people use their personalities and their skills to like kind of benefit the team. So you start off at Horizons barely knowing the people and your team, and obviously you know that you have a shared set of values, but as you kind of go throughout the week, you learn more about the rest of your team, and kind of as you go along, you get more and more efficient as a unit, and you kind of learn about how do you maximize the skills that each person has, and how do you kind of support the weak points that each person has, and learning how to best do that. It's something that you very quickly learn at Horizons.
Great. Thanks so much. And I guess like it sort of goes into leadership as well. We see that all of you are perfect examples of taking on leadership roles within your chapters, whether it was right before you went to the mountain or went after. So what are some of those key leadership lessons that you learned that really enhanced what you already knew? And perhaps how did that improve once you came down from the mountain?
I can kick us off here.
Okay.
I think the biggest one for me was patience. Throughout the week, you're put in a lot of stressful situations, typically working against some clock, and working with or against other groups. And it's set up that way. It's set up to be stressful and challenging. And in that environment, in really a risk-free environment, you learn a lot about patience and depending on your other team members, and letting kind of what Mike was just talking about, letting those who are good at what they do kind of do what they do. So if they're an analytical, letting them like work with the data and just kind of take things at their own time. And back in the chapter, when you're a consul or pro consul and you're running the chapter meetings, running the exec meetings, I think patience is a huge virtue, because it's a group of 20, 21-year-olds, and it can get rowdy. And I think being patient with people, especially your officers, is a huge virtue.
Yeah, I fully agree with everything Peter said. And I think it comes back to thinking about your whole team, not just yourself as a part of that team. So thinking as a group. And I think the number one way to speed up your journey to that destination of thinking in that kind of mindset is through vulnerability. And so just it calls for immediate, putting your walls down as soon as you meet these people that, are from different countries, different states, different chapters of different sizes. And you start comparing, you really quickly realize that not all Sigma Chi chapters are the same at any university. And you start thinking, holistically about your group and how everyone's experienced something differently. But if you can't be vulnerable with each other, then you won't arrive at the journey, or you won't arrive at the destination of getting what you want out of this experience, or most things in Sigma Chi. I think that goes for pledgeship and serving on executive boards and in different officer positions. But Horizons as a program is one that absolutely highlights that, and will teach you and will have you bring it back to your chapter.
And I think like one of the really interesting things that when you're talking about vulnerability is that none of you have met each other until that moment when you're in the room, you're having dinner, and you do that first icebreaker activity. And yet that connection is there, that bond is there, that ability to be vulnerable with one another is almost instantaneously established just because of the nature of the fraternity and the experiences that we all bring. And of course, bringing it right back to the ritual, the common bond between all of us is a pretty cool way to look at it, is that you have no connections with each other, except the fact that you're brothers, and yet that bond is so powerful.
I'll say on that is a lot of people will leave the mountain and they will be closer to some of their Horizons brothers than some of the brothers at their own home chapter or even in their pledge class, and that's an amazing thing that this experience is able to capture within 1 week. And to this day, I know we all keep up with one each other. And Peter and I interned together last summer in Utah. So I'll let Mike speak on it, but I think it's amazing how the kind of bonds you can build in such short time.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, at least for me, I think one of the biggest takeaways that I took in terms of that kind of my own leadership style. So when I got to the mountain, I had already been serving for a few months as consul at my chapter. So I will admit that I'm kind of the type of person that likes to have control of the situation and kind of the team and my chapter and things like that. And I think one of the things I learned was to kind of put trust into kind of my fellow officers and the rest of the chapter to kind of do the things that they were elected for. And at least in terms of Horizons, you have different scenarios and different tasks and challenges where there's kind of different, setbacks or obstacles that you have to overcome. And, I wasn't always able to be the one to kind of direct things. And that was hard for me at first, I'll admit. And I think that kind of coming out of Horizons, I was able to kind of recognize when I was maybe going a little too far and trying to control things and realize, hey, maybe I should let this officer do the things they do and just try and facilitate and help them out however I can without that kind of taking the wheel per se.
Right. That's awesome. And this sort of is a similar question. I'll bring Dick into this as well. Is, in terms of leadership, right? That is a very broad term that is very, dependent on your various situations. What other skills or experiences would you sort of reflect on as a result of your participation in the Horizons program?
You want me to start off, Hef?
Yeah. Go ahead, Dick.
The thing about the Horizons is we've been so blessed over the years because it's a professionally developed curriculum. And we were so blessed by the Huntsman family. I mean, John and Karen were really our first commencement speakers during the one of the first programs. And they were so taken with the program, they started sponsoring one session. And as we all know now, they are the primary sponsor of Horizons. And I don't know if it's been officially announced, but the Huntsman family just renewed for another 10 years as being our primary sponsor. But what they were so taken with is it's all about value-based leadership. And John in particular talked about how this really ties to our ritual. Anybody that loves our ritual and professes to love our ritual will absolutely love Horizons, because the Horizons puts our ritual to life, into action in everything that we do. And it really is all about value-based leadership, and knowing yourself. And it's more than teamwork. It's really about motivating other people to come together to take the action that will make a difference in the world. And when we started this program, we knew undergraduates would go back and make a difference in their chapters, and they would make a difference on their campuses. And we also have the philosophy, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. You don't have to be an officer in your chapter. Some of the best leaders we've ever known, and John and I talked about this a number of times, were people who never held a title. We knew some people who had titles that weren't very good leaders, by the way. So it was all about taking one's individual opportunities and to really develop those characteristics as those opportunities so they can go out and have that impact in the world. So it's about knowing yourself, motivating others, getting other people together to form action, and truly having that. The world expects more of us than it does of other men. Horizons allows us, empowers us, gives us the skills that we need in order to go out and fulfill that ritualistic mission.
Great. Thank you, Dick. Ryan?
Yeah, I would add, it immediately connects you with 50 other brothers, approximately 48, 50, that you've never met before. And you guys can rely on each other for the rest of your lives, certainly for the rest of your academic careers as a Sigma Chi at your undergraduate chapter, to get ideas for philanthropy. If you're struggling with ritual, you now have 49 contacts that you can reach out to and say, how do you guys do this? You guys must be doing it better than us. And it's an excellent first networking opportunity for those who are new to our fraternity, and those who are old to it. And it just unlocks new connections that you would never have if you didn't, attend the program and invest in it the way it's set up to be invested in.
Thanks, Ryan. Mike?
Yeah, at least for me, I think one of the additional lessons that I kind of took from Horizons, and I'd already kind of thought about it before, but I think Horizons really emphasized it, was kind of the importance of mentorship. So, going through life, I know I've had plenty of great people who have supported me and taught me a lot of great lessons, but I think Horizons did a really good job of kind of ingraining in me that mentorship is something that you need to keep looking after, even though you think you know everything. There's always going to be somebody who is going to have some great advice for you. So I still try and keep in contact with my facilitator, Mark Galbo, great guy. And as I've kind of gotten into my career now, I'm still looking out for people within my team and people within kind of the larger organization that I can look to for advice, whether it be kind of in my day-to-day or kind of the longer term goals about where I want to go. So I think just always being mindful and looking out for who your mentors are and kind of where to find them is something that I think was a really awesome thing that I got from Horizons.
Thank you, Mike. Peter?
Yeah, Mike took what I was going to say, but I guess I'll just kind of expand on it a little and include Ryan's point. And it doesn't really need to be just your facilitator, your guide, who is like that mentor. Something that I took out of it was just finding leadership and finding advice in my small group and in the larger group that you're there with. It's a plethora of fantastic ideas, and everyone there has had their own Sigma Chi experience at their own chapter. And it's just kind of, like Ryan said, it's constant learning. You're constantly learning about new Derby Days ideas. You're constantly learning new things about the ritual that you wouldn't have learned if you didn't attend Horizons. And then also, just outside of your relationship with your one guide, you get to kind of learn from the best that Sigma Chi has to offer. The guides that are on the mountain are just the best volunteers, and that's the thing, is that they are volunteers. They're devoting a week of their time to do this, and they're just the best of Sigma Chi. And it's just truly an honor to learn from them and be with them for that week.
Thanks, Peter. And Dick, if you could just elaborate a little bit more in terms of the sort of role that the guide plays, because we just had several instances in which the guides or the facilitators at Horizons were mentioned. What is the expectation of them in terms of their time on the mountain, and then what they do after, which has a tremendous impact on the undergraduates?
Well, I'm happy to comment on that, Hef, and there's several guides that are on this call, including on the screen, that can actually help with that too. But, the philosophy of Horizons from the very beginning was to get the best of the best undergraduates. And then we did the same thing with the guides, the best of the best alumni. We go out and recruit our guides. Just like undergraduates go out and recruit men according to the Jordan Standard, we go out and recruit guides who are really good at facilitation, also presentation, and are really committed, because a guide goes through the entire program training, and then the next year comes back and has his first group. And they have to commit to doing 3 groups over 10 years. So you're there on the mountain for a week. But then the other most important thing is that that guide is responsible to follow up with those undergraduates in his group until they graduate. Mm-hmm. So you'll have other mentors, but you still have your guide. And in many cases, the session coordinator continues to be involved too with undergraduates. And I know guides who are still in contact with their undergraduates that were in their group 20 years ago. They're going to their weddings and they're going to, their christening of their babies and all kinds of things. So those kind of relationships, as some of my undergraduate brothers mentioned, really are enduring.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hey, James, I'm back. I had lost my connection.
Welcome
Did
back.
you cover the question about the Huntsman Cancer Institute?
Nope, that is all yours.
All right, let me touch on that one now. A component of Horizons includes a visit to the Huntsman Cancer Institute at the University of Utah. The Huntsman Cancer Foundation is Sigma Chi's designated and preferred philanthropic partner. So all three of our panel members who've been participants did visit the Huntsman Cancer Institute. I'd like to ask the question, what impact did that part of the program have on each of you?
I'll say this, Jim, it shows you exactly where all of your effort, every dime is going, and it makes you want to go back to the chapter and double it, triple it. And it lights a fire inside of you. And we wish every brother could go out to Salt Lake and see that hospital and meet the doctors that work with these patients from day to day and see the Sigma Chi connection that's built into the physical structure of the hospital and see how much the residents and those patients at Huntsman Cancer Institute appreciate the Sigma Chi Fraternity because it will truly invigorate you for our cause. And it's not really a cause that anyone really needs to get pumped up for because it already affects everybody.
And that's right, Ryan. Our active Sigma Chi chapters are the biggest contributors annually to the Huntsman Cancer Institute in our philanthropic causes. Peter and Mike, any comments from you on the visit to the Cancer Institute?
Yeah, at least for me, one of the moments during the visit that really stood out to me was when we did a white rose ceremony. It was the first one I had ever experienced before, having read through the ritual and things like that, and having heard about the ceremony. It was really special to be able to experience it and take some time to kind of put our thoughts and our prayers and just a moment of silence for all those that we've lost, whether it be brothers or friends or family that we've lost to cancer. And I think that we talk about the horror that comes with cancer, and I think that taking the time to as we're in the moment and at Huntsman, I just really special. And I apologize, I'm kind of at a loss for words as I'm kind of thinking back. My mind is kind of going back to that moment. So it was just a really, really awesome experience.
Sounds like an important moment of reflection, and we've all been touched, I think, by cancer in one way or another. Peter, any comments that you have?
Yeah, along with the white rose ceremony that typically happens at the beginning of the week, it's an extremely grounding and humbling experience to be there and be in the Sigma Chi friendship garden, which is where that takes place, and it's a beautiful scene. Having the privilege of going there in 2021 and back again this summer, we could see exactly where our money was going, and it was really exciting because in 2021 we saw the beginning of the construction on the Catherine F. Kirk Center, and going back this summer, the progress that's been made was incredible, and it's just really inspiring, and it just kind of invigorates you to bring it back to the chapter and bring it back to everyone who's involved at your.
Yeah, it's a great component of the Horizons program. I had a question regarding what you brought back with you to your chapters, but I think all of you have touched on that question already. So I'll skip over that one and move into another, which is, how do you see what you accomplished and participated in in Horizons, having a positive impact as you go out into your careers. And Mike, I'll start with you because you're the brother that's already began his career. What have you found that the lessons of Horizons have done for you in getting your career started up?
Yeah. So at least for me, I work in a field where I work very closely with different physicians and doctors and things like that. So I already kind of touched on it earlier, but social styles was definitely something that I've been trying to apply as much as I can when it comes to the different physicians I work with. They all have very different personalities and different skill sets that they bring to the table, and trying to figure out when I'm going to a hospital or an office, what have you, trying to figure out how do I best take my knowledge and help them out as much as I can. Like for example, today there's a office we've been having some trouble with, and had to go in there and had some very difficult conversations. And as I was on the drive there, I was actively thinking about how do I apply what this doctor's social styles are and what I know mine are or is, and how do I approach him and how do I have that difficult conversation. And kind of having that exercise as I was preparing to go in there, I felt it went really well. And I think that had I not gone to Horizons, I don't know if that would have been as successful of a conversation. So I think just a good example just from even today. So I think social styles and learning how to best interact with those around you.
That's a great example. Ryan, am I correct that you've had an internship with JP Morgan?
So that's where I'm going to go work once I graduate here in May as a full-time. But I was actually, as part of my answer to your question, going to touch on a previous internship where I worked for a local Oklahoma company, oil and gas company. And, I was a first-time intern. I had never done a corporate internship. So this was in an office in a finance role. And, this was my first week of my 8-week internship. And I had to go to my manager and explain to him how not only am I going to be gone for a week for Horizons, but that the week after that, I'm going to KTLW. So 2 consecutive weeks and a good chunk of my 8-week internship. And I think the way that I prepared to present the opportunity that I had was presented appropriately and maturely, that I was very scared he was going to say, maybe I'll give you one of the other week off, but not the other. And he comes from a background of non-Greek, so he maybe fully doesn't understand Sigma Chi or fraternities or Greek life, but I explained to him the value that I hadn't even experienced yet on the mountain that was awaiting for me there, as far as self, others, actions, and community, and how I can affect those 3 pillars. And he said, Ryan, you're going to be much more useful in Utah than you will here in Tulsa this week. I want you to go out there because the things that you're learning, are going to bring back and make our company better. And it's going to be way better than what you learned if you stayed here. So that was a huge eye opener to me as a brand new intern, brand new corporate experience. And that definitely spoke measures to the program and the confidence that the third party external world has in our fraternity and our leadership curriculum.
That's great to hear as well. Peter, I think you have some aspirations for involvement in either politics or government. Do I have that right?
Yes, you do. And I don't have a plan after college yet, but I can still speak to kind of what Horizons has given me for my professional career. I was able to get an internship with brother and majority leader Steny Hoyer this past summer in Congress solely through the Horizons program. I gave my resume to someone in my small group, and he passed it along. The staff assistant hiring me was a SIG and a Horizons grad, and it was the Horizons program that made a difference for me in my application and coming to the job. And so it's really the network that you build from that is invaluable, and being able to connect with past Horizons grad is a awesome experience in the workforce.
Well, we'll be looking for you as a member of Congress down the road a little bit. Okay. Horizons is a lot of work when you go there, but terrific work. But I understand that it's also a good time, that you can actually have some fun while you're there. Why don't you guys touch a little bit on what you really enjoyed, about the experience that you might put under the category of fun?
I'll say this: I don't know any other 5-star resorts in the U.S. that love a certain fraternity as much as Snowbird loves Sigma Chi. So it's an extremely awesome thing to see the I would say the reputation that your fraternity has left over the last 20 plus years we've had this program in place. I think maybe the first one was in 99 or 2000. And just the relationship we've built with the workers at Snowbird, the employees, they love us. They love when we come back. We usually leave the place better than we found it. And it's just awesome to interact with other people who really care about what you're doing.
Well, it's always great to be welcomed where you go. Mike or Peter, any comments that you have about, what was fun about the experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think just being able to spend time like with your brothers, I think is just awesome. You spend a lot of time with your home chapter and you get to know them really, really well. And I think being able to meet guys from other chapters and getting to hear their experiences and share yours, I think can just be a blast. And I definitely learned a lot, and I try and do my best to keep in touch with the guys in my small group and the rest of my session. And it's just a lot of fun, just being able to spend time with guys and go explore the mountain. And
it sounds like that would be the case.
And you
Peter,
get some cool shirts at the end.
Yeah, I mean, the free time is just really great for the brothers. You spend a really long day improving yourself, improving the team, and working with one another. But having the ability to just kind of relax with one another, just hang out in nature, go on a walk, and just kind of like fully like take in the mountain is just incredible. Because if you haven't been up there, it's just truly breathtaking. The wildlife, as Cogdell just mentioned in the comments, is fantastic. There are always moose hanging around. And just being able to spend quality time with brothers that you met 2 days ago and now you're just incredibly close with is a really special and fun opportunity.
Well, it does sound like one of the best environments you could really ever be in. I have one final question for our panel of undergrads and recent grad. And that's just, I'm going to ask you to finish a statement, fill in the blank. And that would be this: who would you recommend applies for participation in Horizons? That is a Sigma Chi brother who is interested in what?
I'll say a Sigma Chi brother who's interested in bettering himself. And I want to clarify Brother Hester talking about the type of person we're looking for to go to this summit experience, because it's not a Consul. Certainly there are a lot of Consuls, but it's not Consuls only. It's not just brand new pledges. It's not just Magisters. We're looking for any brother who cares enough about this fraternity and enough about his future to take a week out of his summer in a 5-star resort to truly go dig deep on his personality, help others become better people. And I think it's a brother who really, really is dedicated to his future, because you'll learn more about yourself and what you take off the mountain will last you a lifetime. And it's just a week that you're there. And it's an amazing experience that is second to none.
That's a great clarification, Ryan. Thanks. And Peter, what would you say? Who should apply for this program?
I think anyone who's really willing to push themselves and grow as an individual and a brother. That's something that's extremely important for this program, is going in with an open mind. And because we keep it a little secret, you don't know what you're getting into really when you're going there. And so it's just necessary of you to have an open mindset and just really be ready for everything and just be ready to have fun with everything.
All right. And Mike, you get the final word on this question.
Oh boy. So I think that a brother who is interested in being challenged to be the best that they can be, and to learn about themselves and the people around them. I think is a brother that should go to Horizons. I think that you're going to spend a lot of time doing a lot of introspection and a lot of thinking about kind of the path that has led you here, or has led you to the mountain, and thinking about the path that you're going to follow, like once you climb back down. So if you want a challenge, then Horizons is the place for you.
All right. Well, thanks to our panel of current undergrads and recent grad for really some terrific input about Horizons. I'm going to turn it back over to Hef for some final questions for Dick.
Thanks, Jim. So, Brother Hester, I know that you were really part of the creation of what we know now as the Horizons Huntsman Leadership Summit. Why don't you just tell a little of the story as to why Sigma Chi just decided to move forward with something of this magnitude?
Well, just being direct and honest, Hef, it all started at a bar. We were in the bar at the Orrington Hotel in Evanston, and there were several fraternity leaders. This was like 1997, 98 academic year. And some of the foundation leaders said to us, hey, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do? So we got very excited, actually spilled a little bit of our drink. We were drinking within risk management guidelines, just for the record. And the first thing we wrote down was Sophomore Leadership Institute. I still have that napkin, because the whole thing was all about, workshop was great, but it was mainly officers and mainly upperclassmen. And we said, what about if we have a pure value-based leadership program, ritualistic oriented, for our younger brothers, that they could take these learnings and then make a difference truly. And the objective was for them to make a difference in the world someday. That was the whole philosophy. And then the interesting thing was, it was the first time we weren't arrogant, because we were always arrogant. We thought we can develop everything ourselves. We said, no, we want this to be world class. So we went out and hired the best consultants available, non-Sigma Chi's. Elaine Palladino was our lead consultant, who has she did more leadership programs for Fortune 500 companies than most anybody in that field. And yet she said to us at the pilot program in 2000, if you guys pull this off, because we spent a couple of years developing this and testing it, if you guys pull this off, this is as good as any Fortune 500 leadership program. So we got out of our own way and brought in the experts. Now we had Sigma Chi's, obviously we had the opportunity to work with them. And now I sit back and smile, and I look at SCLI and think, gosh, we have really come a long way from now. We have all these great professional curriculum development people who are not Sigma Chi's, who are helping us make the fraternity and the world a better place. Mm-hmm. So that's how it all started. It took us a couple of years in development. Our pilot program was in 2000.
Excellent. And so over that course of time, we must have had at least a couple thousand undergraduates, alumni now, that have gone through the program. So what have we really learned about the impact and the value that Horizons brings to our members?
Well, I think I was never Queester for appropriate reasons, but I believe we've had approximately 80 different sessions and close to 4,000 undergraduates who have gone through the program. And we did say when we started the program that it may take us 20 years to really figure out the impact. So we have been starting to really collect more data and more stories from our graduates. But what we're hearing is just amazing, that so many undergraduates, they're in a position of leadership in the corporate world that they don't think they would have been able to attain without Horizons. We've had guys tell us about how the Learning Horizons has helped them in their family life as a son or as a husband or as a father. We hear all these great philanthropic things that graduates are doing in the nonprofit world. leading boards, really actually going and literally helping third world countries, on their vacations and things like that. So what we're hearing is that I think Chuck Thatcher may have put it the best. Pastor and Consul Chuck Thatcher was at the pilot program. We were sitting next to each other. He looked at me. He said, Dick, we've had pretty successful careers. Could you imagine how even more successful we could be if we had had Horizons as an undergraduate? So we're seeing undergraduates do phenomenal things. We're bringing them back. This is one of the exciting things. One of our long-term objectives was eventually we would like all guides and coordinators to be Horizons graduates. And maybe the last 5 training classes have been each over a half of Horizons graduates are coming back now and serving as guides and listening to their testimonies about how they really applied what they learned as undergraduates in the 10, 20 years since they left the mountain.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that, Dick. And I think that, when I went through the program back in 2010, session 3, as an undergrad, I just couldn't imagine what I was walking into. And I think everybody, was a little nervous, apprehensive of what that experience could be. And I think we walked away with something that we really can't put into words. It's one of those things, and that felt so right, that continues to deliver again and again. It's not just a one-time experience, but it's the lessons that we learn are able to attribute, years out from the program is truly remarkable. So thanks for all that you've done and to bring this to life, and to Elaine and the founding fathers of this program, and who continue to serve as guides and session coordinators, and the curriculum team at the Sigma Chi Leadership Institute. Can't thank them enough for everything that they're doing. I know we're wrapping up, coming up to our hour. So what I would like to do is bring back all of our panelists and open it up to questions to those that are in the audience. Feel free to use the chat feature. We will start asking some of the questions that are coming through and be able to hopefully provide answers to those questions. So we got a question from Brother Hardin. Where else, or maybe it's more of a statement, where else would an undergraduate brother have the opportunity to ask a past Grand Consul to mentor him? That's, I've had the pleasure of, being in a formal mentor relationship with you, Dick, in my earlier my career, and it was, absolutely phenomenal to be able to do that. And I think that, anybody, regardless of, the title that a Sigma Chi may hold, the fact that we're able to have those kinds of relationships, with brothers who are dedicated and care about our own growth and development is pretty substantial.
One thing I would say to that, Hef, and I think everybody would agree to this who has served as a mentor, and I know many of my undergraduate brothers, they have mentors. You will be a mentor soon if you're not already, because you don't have to be older to be a mentor. You can have a younger person or peer be a mentor. Mm-hmm. And I think most mentors will tell you, when you have that opportunity, accept it, because you are going to end up getting more out of it than the person that you're mentoring. It happens every time. And most people that mentor will say, I got more out of it than I was able to give.
Excellent. Thanks, Dick. Question from Brother Rome. How many undergrads will be able to attend this summer in 2023?
It will have 48 brothers at each of the 5 sessions.
Perfect.
And somebody else can do that math, because, like I said before, I'm not a quizster, but.
So our friends at Sigma Chi Leadership Institute, 240, that's the magic number, who will be able to attend this year. Let's see. There are other questions in the chat. Question from Philip Generu. What is the future of Horizons?
Well, at this point in time, we know we have funding, thanks again to the Huntsman family and other alumni brothers. to have 5 sessions going forward in perpetuity. So we know that is the future. But I can also tell you what's most important about the future is the curriculum. It's always cutting edge. The curriculum changes a little bit every year based on the feedback, particularly from the undergraduates and that we get from the guides and the coordinators. And we work with the Sigma Chi Leadership Institute and the curriculum designers there to make sure we're on cutting edge, and it's always been that way and it always will be that way. So that is part of the past and part of the future.
Excellent. We have a question from Brother Bracco. What are the costs and are there limits per chapter to attend the program?
Well, can I take this one?
Yep.
Because it's one of the things I really want to say to my undergraduate brothers who are listening in, as well as to my alumni brothers, particularly advisors and preetors who are coaching and working with our undergraduates. We should take advantage of any opportunity that we have. This opportunity, Horizons, is a full scholarship. No undergraduate pays a dime to go. And again, that's the generosity of the Huntsman family and other brothers that funded it. But we have talked to other people who do leadership programs, and they look at our program and they say, do you realize if you went out to the corporate world for a program like this, it would be someplace between $5,000 to $12,000 for this type of curriculum and education for a week. So the cost, it's invaluable, and it won't cost you a dime if you apply and get selected. So take advantage of that opportunity. My undergraduate brothers and my alumni brothers, coach our undergraduates to take advantage of this opportunity.
Perfect. So it looks like those are all of the questions that are in the chat. So Jim Cooper, would you like to close us out?
Yeah, again, thanks to our panel. I think it was a terrific session. I would like to get a word in about our next SigTalk, because we took the month of December off, so it's been 2 months since we had a SigTalk, but our next one comes up in 3 weeks. February being Valentine's Day month, we thought it would be appropriate to have a kind of unique and special SigTalk. So the theme of next month's SigTalk on February 16th is the women's perspective on Sigma Chi. We're going to have a panel of distinguished ladies, including our current and 37th international sweetheart, Shelby Mecklenburg, together with 2 other former international sweethearts, Kelsey Meggard and Sydney Binnington, and they'll share their views on Sigma Chi's and their experience with Sigma Chi and just what they think of us guys. So that's on February 16th. I think it'll be really fascinating to hear. So please tune in for that. Dick, before we finish up, do you have, I know you've said it pretty much all that I could imagine, but do you have a final word for our audience and our undergraduates who are listening to this talk about Horizons?
Thanks, Coop. I guess the final word would be heed the words of Mike, Ryan, and Peter. They spoke from the heart. You can see how important Horizons is to them yet today. And look at our dean, the dean of the Rhetorical College, a Horizons graduate. My undergraduate brothers on this call, and those who are coaching them, they could be next. They could be the next ones on a year from now who can be talking about how Horizons has changed their lives in 10, 20 years from now when they're dean of the Rhetorical College or Grand Consul of the fraternity.
Well, thanks very much, Dick, for all that you do for Sigma Chi and the Horizons program. James, I think that's it for tonight.
That's it for tonight. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next month on February 16th. Have a great rest of your evening.